Welcome to the Desire to Dream podcast. I'm your host, Lo Wilder. The vision of this podcast is to provide tools on how to become successful in your finances, business, leadership development, and much more. A little bit about me: I grew up in the hood, homeless at the age of 14. I made a choice not to become a product of my environment. And today, I am a successful businessman, community leader, and inspirational speaker. It is my desire to encourage and empower you to unlock your greatness. So tune in and enjoy the show. And welcome back to another episode of the Desire to Dream podcast. Listen, it's your boy Lo here to host, and I just appreciate all of my supporters, everyone who's been listening to the podcast, sharing the podcast. And today, man, we're going to have a legendary episode, right? I got one of my homies, one of my kings on the call, Vic Johnson. Vic, what is going on, brother?
My man, Lo, what's going on, bro? Pleasure to be here.
Oh, man. Hey, I am excited, right? Because I know we've talked, man, and we're part of this accountability group, and everyone's winning, right? So, I definitely want to dive into that, man. But before, for those in the audience that don't know, Vic, man, he is just doing it. He's a managing member for 555 Equity LLC. That's his real estate business. He is killing the game in the real estate investing. So we definitely want to dive into that, but also Nico Don Projects, where he does a lot of speaking, empowering and encouraging others, educating them and getting into real estate, man. So, man, I want to dive into that. But before we do that, for those who don't know, Vic, your background, and just share with them a little bit about yourself and basically how you came about starting these different endeavors.
For sure. Well, again, I appreciate this platform, Lo, man. Again, as part of our accountability group, you step right up, right? You're holding me accountable to getting the word out about the business and spreading some value out to the community. And so I am Victor Voncino Johnson. People call me Vic or Nico. I grew up in the Bay Area in Oakland, Richmond area of California. I am at this time 48 years old, as we are in 2022. And basically at 16 years old, I moved to Atlanta, Georgia, where my dad and his other family was. And so I got an opportunity to be in the metropolitan of Atlanta while it was really burgeoning before the Olympics and things like that. We talked on the phone the other day. I grew up in a single parent home. I don't have necessarily the stories of, dodging bullets in the streets from the gang wars or slinging rocks on the corner, but all that was in my neighborhood. All of those were my friends and my cousins and my brothers and things like that. And so I was exposed to it, but I really had a different desire for myself. Like, I just felt like I was just different, and so I always liked to read. I got involved in the Bay Area with this organization called the Omega Boys Club when I was a teenager, which was really big on leadership and getting young men to get out there and start talking to the community. So that was one of the things that I got a chance to do. Then I got into a little trouble with my grades at 16. And so my mom shipped me out to Atlanta where, my dad and his new family was. I had siblings there already. And so at 16, close to 17, I moved to Atlanta my senior year of high school. So I was kind of bummed out about that, getting ready to move to a whole new city my last year of high school.
Got to get new friends, all that.
Yeah, I was a man. I'm a track star. I'm a leader in the community, all this stuff at school, but it's all good. I moved to Atlanta to be with my dad. Instantly got exposed to Atlanta and the love of the Black women out there and the women, and found myself with a baby on the way within like 6 months. So had my first child at 17. Literally, the baby was, the girl was pregnant while I'm in my senior year of high school. So I'm working 2-3 jobs to prepare for that. A year or so later, I'm with another young lady, got her pregnant, had 2 kids with her. So that was the pattern that I fell into, was really more so of, not being disciplined when it came to being, with females, and just kind of being haphazard, just having babies, right? And so when you're feeding mouths, you suddenly have a lot of money that goes in a lot of different directions and not towards your goals and dreams. And so that's kind of where I found myself in my 20s. And so we can kind of pick up on the real estate part. Was much later on, actually, after the kids were, really almost teenagers, man. And I just kept having these cycles of things going on, even though I was advancing in my corporate world in my life. I just still didn't have a control of my dollars. And so that's kind of where things really snapped for me. It's like, okay, I got kids growing up. They will need something from me. I got to get it together. And so the
Right.
real estate
Word.
was a haven for me on that end.
Word. So, hey, I mean, I kind of want to stick just real quick in that vein, right? So, you got your teenage father, right?
Mm-hmm.
You know, these dreams and goals that you had at one time was like, man, now you got to focus on working that, you know, and just grinding it out so you can feed the kids.
Yeah.
At any point, like, you know, what kind of advice were you getting? What kind of exposure? Because you said you had a nice little, you know, foundation where you was at,
Yeah.
obviously in Atlanta. Like, was there anyone there that was kind of giving you game, like, and that's how you kind of led to the real
Yes.
estate? Yeah. So
So
talk a little bit about that.
the backstory is my dad, you know, was with my mom, but my mom was, you know, and it's in my book, so it's no secret, but she was a side piece while he was already married with somebody. So
Gotcha.
he had a family, and then he moved to Atlanta and actually had kind of started a whole nother family. And my mom was never the family; she was just another young lady that he was with that had a baby. And so
Right.
we did have a relationship, my dad and I, and ultimately that's, you know, where I moved to be with him. And so I guess he was kind of the guide, if anything, was like, hey man, you know, you seen me, I was out here having babies with different women. Don't do that. And that's what
Mm-hmm.
I did, right? I fell right into those traps. But he was a very good mentor for me on that end of it. I really would say later too, like after my kids, you know, my first child was probably 3 or 4, we kind of got back tight again. My dad and I, he kind of helped me out on that end. But there were some other people in my life that really helped me out. And I was a big reader again. So I really like reading books like Think and Grow Rich, The Black Choice by Dr. Dennis Kimbrough.
Mm-hmm.
At that time, you know, he had been endorsed by you know, that whole organization to put the book out. And
That's
so
what's up.
he tells stories about a lot of Black people that went through some hard times, and of course, rags to riches type stories. And so, honestly, a lot of those stories inspired me. The stories of Oprah Winfrey and Jesse Owens and all these different people that just had it so much harder than me coming up, but ultimately took themselves to a whole nother level in life. And so, even
Word.
with the kids, I still was optimistic that I had a brighter future. I just had to figure out how to manage the dollars that were coming in, you know?
Yeah, man. And hey, listen, the trailblazers, right? Those who kind of just blaze the trail, making things happen for the first time, being the first and doing this. For me, it was being the first to graduate from high school, then to go on to college.
Yeah.
But I started developing this work ethic, right? Because definitely want to talk about that. You know, as you
Yeah.
said, you worked in the corporate world and you worked your way up. So there was a strong work ethic there. What was your why that kind of kept you going like during that process, even though you was optimistic, like I have other things that I want to accomplish, but there was probably something that was like pushing you and motivating you throughout that time?
For sure. So for sure, you know, as the kids came along, you know, I've created life now. And so being able to look forward in the future and say, okay, what can I be for them? They will want to have a life as well. And I want to be that dad that can provide for them. So as, you know, even though they were babies early on, it was still something, again, you know, I'm a dad, so I wanted to make sure their future was bright. So that
Right.
was a why. My grandmother actually raised me, my mom's mom. Well, my mom traveled a lot when I was, you know, preteen and stuff like that. And so I spent a lot of time with her. And, you know, she just talked to me a lot about, again, her upbringing and in the Southern, you know, Oklahoma and stuff like that during the 1920s and 30s and just how rough things were. But she ultimately ended up owning real estate in San Francisco in the 1960s. My dad's mom ultimately owned and quadruplexes in upstate New York during the 60s. So these
Mm,
were single Black women. And so just
powerful,
kind of
man. Wow.
hearing their stories as I was coming up, you know, I just, again, always felt like maybe I'm the one that has
Hmm.
to take the family to the next level. As I was looking around, you know, not that my family was a failure. It's just, you know, it just was the normal routines. And I never wanted normal to be my thing. And so part of my why was just like, just to be different than the norm. You know what I mean?
Yeah, man, that's what's up, man. So you got exposed to the real estate early on with your grandmothers, and then
Yes.
at some point you was like, "This is the move. This is what I got to do." So how do you kind of get into the real estate, man? Because I want to talk, you know, and share some of your the way that you was able to accomplish that. because I think what happens, man, we got a lot of people who aren't owning homes. I got friends of mine that are afraid to buy. They're like, man, the housing market's crazy right now. And I'm like, look, you're paying rent. I'm giving them game on like personal financing, because I'm like, look, you're paying somebody else to pay their property off. You know what I mean? Like, you're giving them passive income, and you have to be an owner. You have to own real estate, and then not only that, you have to own multiple properties so that you can get passive income. How important is the passive income, man, and how you kind of got started with that?
Oh man, so I love telling the story because I was just like most people that I dreamed of being in real estate, having the freedom, having a passive income, owning the real estate. Back in the 90s, late 90s, early 90s, I was one of the guys. Again, I told you my age, so I'm old enough to remember, these infomercials that would come on with, buy houses with no money down with Carlton sheets. And I ordered all of the DVDs. I can show you right now,
right,
VHSs of those same videos, but I was taking in the information. I was reading this stuff. I just wouldn't take the action. I was afraid. I just felt like I'm too young. I'm too Black. I don't have enough credit. I don't have no money. Who's going to support me? I can't buy from these white people. Like, this was the mentality in mid 90s, late 90s. And so I had to get through all of that craziness. And so fast forward, again, knowing that my grandmothers had some experience with real estate, I just knew I was going to get there somehow, some way. So the story goes ultimately that, in 2015, I moved from Atlanta, got a job in in Austin, Texas. Mm-hmm. And that completely changed my financial situation. So I was trying to figure out, how do I take this increased double the salary that I'm making? I paid off all my debts with the house that we sold in Atlanta. So I'm basically like a new man, you know what I mean? And
you got this big lump money, man. You're like, okay, what's the move?
The money's there, the debts are gone, the kids are older. What's up? What are we doing here? And so I started really going back and revisiting the real estate, and went to a seminar and whatnot. And so got involved with my first deal within 90 days of going to that seminar. But the part of the story that I really want to hone in on is my grandmother in San Francisco, my mom's mom. Pearlie Mae Anderson, in 1961, a single mom, scraped up some money as a nurse, bought a house in San Francisco for $21,000, right? Through the years, she probably, refinanced, pulled cash, upgraded, added rooms, increased the value. This is what we do in real estate, right? So fast forward, she passed on, may she rest in peace, in 2017, but the house was worth, at that point, $920 something thousand from $21,000 invested decades before. Right. That's legacy, folks. Your audience needs to understand that. It's not, no, she didn't hit the lotto. She just bought a house and paid on the house. And she never even invested in rental properties or anything. That house, though, because she was prudent with her decision making and was responsible with the mortgage payments and paid the house off and everything, when she passed, we were able to inherit money and, utilize that to grow our family legacy even more and be good stewards of that money. So that's the importance of real estate. I could go through countless examples, even since 2015, when we've invested, how it has multiplied and grown and blossomed. And so the key is to take action. Buy real estate as soon as possible. Don't watch the 6 o'clock news and they're telling you, oh, don't buy.
Interest rates, don't buy it, right?
Yeah, we can dig into much more of that, but buy real estate as soon as possible. It is the one most proven way of building wealth for the average person in the United States.
Yeah, absolutely. Hey, like I think about it like Monopoly, right? You can't win the game if you don't buy property. You're gonna always be paying out when you land on somebody's property. So when you move and people are like, well, it's like, again, we go back to that whole, well, I don't know if I can do that. And I think it's a curse, I guess, in our culture to believe that we can be owners and we can actually own property. I'll never forget when I made my first real estate property deal. My wife and I, we got a small 3-bedroom home in Florida. But when it was done, there was a lot of paperwork and signing and whatnot.
Yeah.
But Vic, man, I went to the table with 50, it was like $5,100. And I didn't even do like the
Nice.
FHA.
Oh,
I did the
nice.
first time home buyer program, Fannie Mae, through what do they call that? Not the FHA loan, but the other one. Conventional loan, right?
Oh, conventional
Yeah,
loan,
so the
yes.
conventional. So I was able to still only put down like 3% or something like that,
Mm-hmm.
man. But I was just surprised, like, yo, I only had to come to the table with like $5,100, lived in that house for not even 2 years, and we were able to clear, you know, 30 grand,
See what I'm
and,
saying?
and and
You
it's
see?
just like that, like you said, man. Like, and even if you got to move, so for me, we had to move. My job moved us around. Talk about, what, you left your job at the corporate gig, so you doubled your salary, and then you started getting into those deals. I always tell people, get that first deal. Once you get the
Yeah.
first deal, you can multiply, you can continue to
Yes.
replicate what you're doing. So at some point, you was like, I can leave my 9 to 5 and focus more on this real estate gig. I mean, talk about was there any fear? Like, man, I'm about to
Man.
leave this
Oh.
security.
So there was a sequence of events, right? So in 2013 is when we ultimately got to Austin, Texas. By 2015 is when we purchased that first rental property, again, 90 days after going to the seminar. We were there for a while. The company that I was with, I was a director, I was making really good money there. But that company, even at the time when I was buying that first rental property, I knew that position was going away. So the company basically went through a merger. They were dissolving. My division was shut down. And so we basically had 120 days to shut everything down. And so we were still getting paid, which was kind of a blessing in that situation because I had just bought this house. I wanted to kind of check on the rehab that was going on. It was, I was living in Austin, driving to San Antonio. So it was a really convenient situation. But so that job ended. I got a severance check out of that. I immediately went to another company and started working there for a minute. And so many things were going on. And basically, I was able to save enough dollars to buy another rental property in San Antonio. And then 2017 happened where my grandmother passed. And so several months later, I got my portion of an inheritance and I used that money to basically buy more rental properties and put some money away for my kids and things like that. And so that kind of created this momentum around me where I had rental properties bubbling. I'm a very high eye, we big on disc assessment. So
Right. Shout
I'm
out to the
talking,
disc
I like
assessment.
to share, what I mean? I share with a lot of people. So people were like, oh my God, how are you doing this? And ultimately, long story short, I was on some calls with my sister and a few of her friends, just kind of sharing some things that we had done to get that first couple of rental properties. And I realized that some people were dealing with fear. Others had credit challenges. Others didn't have money. Others just didn't have the know-how. And so I decided to write a book called Proven Pathways to Wealth
Hey.
and Happiness. I basically just outlined the steps of how I got my credit together, started increasing my money, started attracting more favorable opportunities to me. And one of those opportunities was a job offer that moved me to Dallas, Texas. So by now I got three rental properties, doing pretty decent there. My income, I'm in a director level at both companies. So I'm making over, 6 figures in both jobs. So I'm in a good place. My kids are off to college or doing whatever they're doing. And I'm active on social media. The book is out. People are buying the book, and it's just a lot of momentum. But still, I'm managing my team at work. I'm advancing people. I'm growing people. The process, we're beating our numbers year over year, quarter over quarter, which you can understand that. So everything's lovely. And
Right.
suddenly I get called in. It's like, hey, we're eliminating your director position. Whoa, hey, wait a minute. What are you talking about?
Right.
I'm the only Black director, first of all. I am also the only over 40 Black director at this company. And
Wow.
I don't have any disciplinary issues on me. So I don't understand what this is.
Right.
Oh, it's not performance-based, just strategy. So anyway, I was able to fight for more severance on that. And that's when I decided, February 2019, you know what? I'm tired of these companies pulling the carpet up under me. I'm going to go ahead and double down on Vic Johnson. And I got a book. I got 3 rental properties and some
Let's
savings.
go.
Let's make it happen.
Let's go. Hey, that is fire, man. And you know what, man? I've had many people on the call who left their gig, right? Whether it was forced or just by their own choice. And I always ask them, man, like, because I'm in corporate America, but I do my side thing, right? And I'm just like, man, I'm sure that fear, but when like you just said, double down on Vic Johnson, like you have to just double down on yourself and reinvest in yourself so you can go out there and make that thing happen, man. So shout outs to you, bro, because now you just killing it, man. And let's talk a little bit about the business, right? 555 Equity LLC. Phenomenal business structure and what you're doing. You're helping others, right? Bringing them and educating them, but also giving them the opportunity to partner with you. And so talk a little bit about the business and what you offer.
Absolutely. So at 555 Equity LLC, we are a real estate investment firm. So we specialize in buying, single family or multifamily properties, fixing those up and then renting them out. So it's a buy and hold strategy. Very, very much into holding on to the property for a litany of reasons, right? For the tax benefits, the principal pay down from your tenants, the equity capture. There's so many different things that you can benefit when you hold the property. And so with that, we are allowed to, build the community up, and we allow others to participate. So individual investors can participate with us on some of these deals. Most of those are cash flowing deals, again, where we're, increasing the value of the property, being able to refinance it out. And then, of course, that tenant is making the payments. And so we're able to satisfy our investors through quarterly payments, or in some cases, depending on the project, giving them a first lien position or second lien position where they're secured by the asset itself. And basically what we're doing is, man, building a portfolio, buying properties in places that we've been, Kansas City, Atlanta, obviously San Antonio and the Dallas area. We're looking at some stuff in the Raleigh, North Carolina area now. And the other part of it is I individually am a real estate entrepreneur. So a lot of times my whole thing really low is just finding good real estate deals where the seller can win, the buyer can win, my investor can win, right? And so I'm finding good deals and putting those with good dollars and marrying those two together. And so it's really been a great experience over these last few years, really stepping into the multifamily level. And now we're excited that we've been elected to a nonprofit board called Inspiring You to Greatness Community Development Corporation. It is a nonprofit CDC for those out there that understand the Community Reinvestment Act. And so we're able to now target land and focus on developing some affordable houses, sustainable houses, using some really unique and creative ways to build these homes that will last for decades and years and years and years and years and years. So just really excited about where I'm at. I have a business partner, Latasha Johnson, who is my life partner, my wife. She's a top producing realtor here in the Dallas, Texas area. Y'all look her up, Latasha Johnson with eXp Realty. And, we just out here helping folks and, just enjoying life, man, living our purpose out and building a legacy for our kids.
Man, that is fire, bro. And, shout out to the life partner, your wife, and the real estate. It's amazing to know that you have this business people think like a lot of times, oh, I got to get into real estate. I got to be a licensed. I don't want to do that. And you're like, no, like you can be an investor, with a trusted firm like myself. It's proven, guys. You're going to see his portfolio. You're going to see his website. You're going to be able to see everything, as he's got the YouTube channel where, he's out there speaking and educating individuals. But you can be a nurse like your grandmother was. You can be a teacher. You can, you can be a principal, whatever it is that you're doing, managing a pharmacy, whatever the case may be, but invest. Please. I mean, that's the message I wanted to bring in on this podcast today. This podcast, right? The desire to dream, and turning those dreams to a reality. Now, one way that can help you get there closer is having passive income, and you can make decisions, relieve that pressure, not only for yourself, but for the generations that come in after. So that's powerful, man. Talk a little bit about Nico Don projects with the public speaking, and what you're all doing with that.
For sure. Well, again, I appreciate this whole platform and And I just love what you're doing. Desire to dream, man. Like that is such a powerful statement because it starts with that. You just got to have the desire to dream. And so you can have the dream, but if you don't have a desire, the dream is just, it's like a cartoon. You're just looking at something on TV, man. But
yeah,
you could also have desire, but if you don't have the dream, you don't really have a passion. You don't know how to direct that passion. And so I just love what you're doing. So flowers to you too, as well,
appreciate
man,
it, brother.
for giving to the community, man. This is huge, brother. So passive income, and as far as what I'm doing with Nico Don Projects. So funny story with projects. My middle name is Vanico. My dad's name is Victor. And so growing up, most of the people called me Vanico because, my dad's name was Victor. So it's like, you say Victor, you call him my dad. And so, in high school, it became, they couldn't really figure out how to pronounce the Vanico. Y'all see how it's spelled, Vonico. So people just start calling me Nico, right? So I had a chance to go to Jamaica in 1990 as part of an exchange program. And we worked over in Kingston, Jamaica, Montego Bay, Jamaica, building performance stages for Sunsplash of all concert. I mean, this is a dream situation at 16 years old.
Man.
And, working on the stage, a lot of these cats around there, they would be like, yo, Nico Don, man, Nico Don, come over here, man, Nico Don. Don being like a cool kid or something. So that name stuck. And in 1995, I'm already living in Atlanta with my dad and everything. And I decided to start hosting open mic events, like talent shows. And I had no money. I just found a club that was willing to give me a night, a Sunday, as a matter of fact. And I just start printing up flyers saying new face showcase. And we just started hosting these events. And I was like, I need a company name. And I was like, yo, Nico Don Projects. So fast forward, I did that whole business for a couple of years, did some really big things in Atlanta, but I didn't know how to run a company at 21, 22 years old. So that company crashed and burned. Fast forward, when I wrote the book, I decided, hey, I need a platform for when I get booked for speaking events and coaching. And so I revamped Nico Don Projects.
Love it.
So got that relicensed in 2018 as basically as a personal development and a mentoring company. And so now we are doing events with school districts here in the Dallas, Texas area. We're able to be an approved vendor where we bring in other entrepreneurs. We focus on basically different career and entrepreneurship ventures for young kids to get their feet wet on how to start a business. We talk to them about financial literacy, the importance of building and managing good credit. And so we have a youth program called Create Your Future Self. And this summer we did our 3rd annual summer program, you know what I mean? And
that's
so
fire.
Just really blessed, man, right now to be in a position to, give back, man, because so many poured into me. And I use this company, Nico Don Projects, as my way of giving back to those that need to be given to.
Man, that's fire, man. And exposure, you're able to give exposure to those who are less fortunate. And as you said, man, it's a way of giving back. That's why I do it. Being homeless at 14, if it wasn't for the exposure that I got working at the electric company, I wouldn't be where I'm at today. So I love it, man. I love what you're doing. Definitely want to give you, your flowers for that, man. Before we go, I want 2 things, some nuggets that you're going to leave for the audience. So the first is, what can someone do who, they may need to work on their credit, but they want to get involved in real estate? What is like a few things, if you can kind of put it all together like that they should do?
Absolutely. Well, if credit or money is your hindrance in moving forward in a real estate deal, then what I would encourage somebody to do is find a partner. Like find somebody who has the money, but maybe not the time, energy, or interest in doing the legwork of finding properties, dealing with contractors, getting the property renovated, dealing with the leasing of a tenant and all of that stuff that goes into it. But if you have the time, the energy, the desire to dream for something bigger for yourself, man, like that's what you would have to do. Is you don't need any money. Like that's what I realized later with all of those Carlton Sheets VHSs I was looking at when he was saying you can buy houses no money down. Not really. But you can partner with somebody who has the
Somebody.
money, and you not putting no money down, or you could negotiate with a seller who might be in a unique situation and just needs to sell their house fast. And you just say, hey, look, I'm willing to give you some money. I don't have anything today, but if you let me take control of this property and, you know, we have a solid agreement in place, I'll pay you $1,000 a month. Make sure that you can collect 15 or 18 a month in rent and pay those people, man, and build up your, you know, yourself slowly. But you do not have to have money or credit to get into the game. So that would be the nugget, you know, without over talking it. But
that's fire, man. And then the other thing, connect and partner up with my man Vic and 555 Equity LLC for sure. That's it, man. And then the last piece, right? Desire to dream. Hey, we're trying to turn that dream into a reality. What is a piece of advice that you can give someone who might be stuck trying to figure it out? They're like, man, they listen to the podcast because they're trying to encourage themselves. You know, we talk about paralysis analysis, right? People are paralyzed from over analyzing and overthinking things. They're reading all the books, they're watching all the videos, but they're lacking in taking action, right? So how can someone just start taking action, you know, and turning that dream to reality?
Well, it's two things that I would encourage. And, you know, again, they could also get the book, Proven Pathways of Wealth and Happiness.
The link is going to be in the description. Definitely check it out.
I give much more nuggets, but two things, man. One, visualize what you really want for yourself. Like, have a very crystal clear picture. I want a house with 5 bedrooms on a lake, 2.5 bathrooms. I got a 3-car garage. I'm making $50K a month. I'm like, get detailed about what you want your life to really look like. The day that you have that first closing on that first rental property, what are you going to be wearing? What cologne you going to have on? What you eating for breakfast that day? Like, live out that day first, right? See it, do it. And then the second thing is, and you know, we're big on this with King's Accountability Group, is create your daily routines. Like, find a routine in the morning or whatever your start of the day is. If you work night shift or whatever, it might be a different time of day, but have like 3 to 5 things that you can do every day that is pushing you towards the life that you just visualized for yourself. And it doesn't have to be major steps. It can just be little things. Tomorrow, I'm going to read another book, but I'm going to actually take one action step from the book, right? Whether it might be scraping up $50 to pay down on this credit card bill, or, you know, like, it's a million things that you need to do, but visualize it first and then create a morning routine that supports you moving into the direction every single day towards that. Because it's not a race. You're not racing to get there. You just got to constantly step towards doing those things. And next thing you know, you'll look back and you're living the life that you envision for yourself.
Man, that is fire. And I love the, you know, visualizing it. The acronym that I use for dream when I'm going into speaking at school assemblies or doing my keynote, the D stands for destiny, which is short for destination. Where are you going? You can't go to the airport and just say, I'm here, I got my bags packed. Where are you going? You ain't got the ticket. You don't know where you're going to go. So once you know where you're going to go, then now you're going to say, okay, how much is it going to cost for me to get there? Okay, what am I going to wear? Right? Like you said, that's when you start to write down. I love it, man. Vic, man, dropping some fire. If I had a DJ Clue bomb, I'd drop it right now. Yeah. Hey, man, listen, bro, I appreciate it. Again, you know, it's a pleasure having you on, bro. I appreciate the time, brother, man. Any last words you want to share before we go?
So I did have a question for you, actually, man.
Hey, let's go.
So, because I know your story. I know you were homeless up in, I think it was Springfield, Massachusetts at one point. So thinking back to that time in your life, there was a moment, there was a situation, an event that just said to you, this ain't it. Like, what happened? If you could, in a nutshell, in 60 seconds, kind of just say, what happened that got you out of that rut, and the next thing you know, you was moving towards being out of your homeless situation?
Yeah. So, man, that's a great question, and I appreciate that. Right. So, I was in my freshman year in high school. I'm 15 years old. My mom's locked up. My pops ain't around. I'm sleeping on the floor at my best friend's house. His mom got 13 kids. And I was just there, you know, she provided a place for me. So shout outs to Maria Perez, man. Love you for giving me a place to stay. But I didn't have much, bro. I had 2 pair of jeans and a few shirts, right? And I remember I was a class clown, so I was clowning on people. And I remember the teacher said, "You wear that same shirt every Friday." And I was like, she called me out, bro. I was like, yo, she's right. And I was hurt, man. But at the end of the day, I went back and I was like, and then I remember crying on the floor, just sleeping on this mattress on the floor, like, yo, this can't be my life. And I was 15. It wasn't much I can do. Like I couldn't just, you know, and I would apply, you know, McDonald's, Burger King, couldn't do it, right? And then I just started praying to God. I said, Lord, I know this isn't the life you have for me. And I know that there's something. That following year, going into my 10th grade year, had an opportunity to work for the electric company. I got interviewed. It was 40 of us interviewing for 2 positions. And I had the right grades, right? That's something I was able to control. I showed up to school every day, something I can control, dominated on the football field. I did everything that I can control. I said, look, I'm gonna do what I can do and what I can control. And I remember interviewing, and I wasn't the best as far as grades go, but I had decent grades. And before we left, the guy said, he knew my story. He was like, tell everybody, you know, where's your mom and dad? And I was like, man, at first I was kind of embarrassed. Like, my mom's a drug dealer, so I didn't want to like tell them that, right? But I did. I told them, and you know, they were like, man, we want this kid. So that changed my life, man. I was able to work for the electric company. I had some mentors, man, African-American men who had a career. You know, they had their own home. They would bring me by their homes. I would see them driving nice trucks, man. And I was like, I could do this. You know, I can create a life like this for me. And I didn't know about everything else that was going to come, man. So, but yeah, that first exposure at 15, I took my pain and I turned it into purpose. And so, you know, that's where I'm at right now. I appreciate that question, bro.
Nah, man, that's facts, man. You know, people need to know because, again, man, I talk to the youth too, man. It's a lot of young kids that are going through exactly what you just described, man. And they, you know, living from couch to couch at the partner's house or whatever, and don't realize that that life that they're experiencing right at that moment is not the life that they could build for themselves. And it's just a matter of just daily fighting through that. And ultimately, you know, things start to, I love that word attract, man. When you start to visualize what you want, the life just starts to attract those things to you, man. So that's the encouragement that I think you've shared and I'm sharing is, you know, get out there and take action towards what you really want for yourself. And, you know, you're going to get help. You don't even have to worry about, well, how will I do this all on my own? The world just starts to just move things out of your way to support that idea. So, but you got to go hard.
All the way.
All in.
Yep. And don't complain, man. Just put in the work and everything will fall in place, man. And one thing I want to share before we go is, like you said it earlier, the King's Accountability Group. And that's where we met, man, and we connected. And I love every single brother that's on that call, but you need to get an accountability group or partner. Maybe you can't get a whole group. Maybe you can't be down with us like that. Cause hey, look, man, we winning in there, right?
Yes,
but
sir.
Get yourself an accountability partner. So if you're listening to this podcast, man, get yourself a mentor, get yourself someone who's going to be able to say, hey, where you at? Where's your wins at for this week? So there it is, man. But look, Vic, man, I appreciate you and the time, man, sharing and blessing us here today. Hey, bro, I'm going to be rooting for you, man. Go get the book. You know what I mean? Check out the website, man. Check out my boy's YouTube channel. He is killing it and crushing it, man. So I appreciate you, King. Get it. Make it happen. Thanks, everybody, for listening to the Desire to Dream podcast. It's your boy, Lo, my brother, Vic. Peace.
Peace.